Welcome back to Sister Circle Live. Our next guest is on a mission to help the world receive love, healing, and mend relationships in a healthy way. He is a best-selling author, speaker, and relationship coach. Please welcome down to the circle, Stephan speaks.
Yes!
How are you?
Welcome!
Well, I want to jump right into this because one of the topics everyone knows is relationships. It's just my favorite topic. I go everywhere with them. Anyways, let's talk about some of the books you've written. You've written a book called He Who Finds a Wife.
Correct.
God, Where Is My Boaz? And currently, The Man God Has for You. All right?
Correct.
That's just to name a few, but we really want to discuss the new one you got. He lying, sis. Okay, so tell us, at least give us three things, women, three things to let us know that he's actually lying to us and why.
Well, the reasons why, and there are various things that we can discuss, but number one thing I always tell people is that he's afraid that telling you the truth is going to scare you away. So the reality is, to go deeper into that, he feels like he can't get what he desires if he's honest about what he wants. Whether that be, let's say he just wants to sleep with you. And there's a lot of women who say, oh, if men would just say that, maybe we would do it and everything would be good. That's not true. Like, you speak to the majority of men and they will tell you that when they have been honest, they haven't gotten the result that they wanted. And lying in general for all people is the same reason. You want to avoid the outcome you're trying to not have, and so you lie to avoid that. Another reason is that women keep entertaining the lies, or that specific woman keeps entertaining the lies. And what I think is important, I mentioned in the book, is the need to focus on tapping into your intuition. You guys are smart. You guys are very detailed. I always say, if a man sneezes different tomorrow, you're going to notice. All right?
That means he was around somebody else that wore a fragrance that you don't know.
Exactly. If a hair fiber is on him and it's not his hair, you will know. So, but the problem is that women rationalize past their intuition, and they don't trust it. And then so they give themselves reasons to look past the lies and the deceit. And so that individual, that specific man, because not every man is lying like that, but that specific man is going to continue to lie.
But he is lying, but he ain't lying like that.
Well, look here, Stephan.
That's attention to detail right there.
We got to, speaking of details, we got to get into your details so that the people can know exactly who you are and why you're qualified to sit down here to this circle.
Right.
Before we get into this discussion, we want to know a little bit more about you. First of all, how did you even get into becoming a relationship coach? You have created such a following. I mean, you have, let me just go right to the stats. You got 1.3 million Instagram followers, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and 1.4 million likes on Facebook.
Wow.
So whatever you're saying, somebody's listening.
Yes.
But why and how relationships and coaching? Why these two concepts together?
So for me, it was all God, because I had no plans on being in this position. I was someone who didn't even like speaking in front of a crowd. I didn't even like writing. I failed classes because I didn't want to write papers. So to have written now books, to now speak and be on tours, this is completely different than what I expected.
Right.
But in me getting closer to God, this is the path He led me down. But I also think because I've always been that person that people came to. I remember even being like 14 years old and meeting strangers, and they would tell me stories about them being raped, molestation, things they didn't tell anyone else. And I never understood why. But again, as I got closer to God, I started to realize there was something in me that was wired for people to be drawn to me in that way, and for people to feel comfortable opening up. And so that also allowed me to see that so many people are struggling in relationships. We have, relationships are the core of society. And because relationships are broken, our society is broken.
Yes.
And if we would learn to fix these issues and heal, a lack of healing is the biggest problem we're facing, then we would avoid and we would make things so much better. But we don't give the same resources and attention to relationship education and to understanding how to better handle ourselves in our own self-growth and in how we coexist with someone else in a romantic relationship.
That is yummy, delicious. That is so good.
That's why you got all them followers.
Well, you've given us only a few reasons to why men lie, because we know they take a class. So, but you also said that men should not chase women. I mean, men should not chase women. So, what do you mean by that?
All right, so yes, I had a recent video where I have 3 reasons why men should not chase women. And the reality is that, one, we've taken this "he who finds a wife" scripture and distorted it completely. Finding is not the same thing as chasing. Okay, find can be to come upon something. However, chasing is like going after something that's running away from you, that is making you go through extra hoops. And the reality is that in relationship dynamics, we have a lot of women who are sitting back saying, okay, he has to prove to me that he's worth it, right? But the reality is that you're in that position because you've been hurt before and you have not healed from that. So now you have your walls up. That is setting the dynamic up to now be dysfunctional and unhealthy. And there's so many things that can go wrong there. I can go through a whole list of reasons why this dynamic of the man chasing the woman is gonna cause problems. The man's gonna lose focus in his life. All right, the man can easily now start to overlook red flags because he's busy chasing. And that's not what God wants any of us to do. Men or women, we're not supposed to chase after the other. We're supposed to have a mutual effort in building a healthy relationship. And so I think we have to be very careful with this chasing that we tell men to do, because it really is not working to their benefit. And the reality is that if you were to survey men and you ask them, those who have chased, the majority have found themselves played. Those who stood strong and still, of course, express your interest, express your desire, show an effort to get to know this woman, absolutely. But once we get into chasing, it does not work in the man's favor in most cases.
What about the man that chases you down to the floor, then gets you, chase you all the way down to the floor, then gets you, and then once you give in and concede, then he treats you like you weren't worth the chase.
Exactly.
So who's that guy?
Well, that guy is still the chasing guy. So here's the thing. The man who's chasing in most situations, his mindset is, okay, I'm gonna do all this work to get you. Now that I've gotten you, it's your turn to give to me. I don't have to keep pouring to you because I did all. Exactly. It's a one-sided affair. So you start off one-sided, you're gonna continue one-sided. But the problem is he's gonna switch it to your side now. And now it's on you to give to him. That's what you find in a lot of situations. The man will chase till he gets you, and then it's like, okay, what you gonna do for me now?
Well, let's go back to this chasing.
It was
I'm trying to help with that last question.
You did good, Selena. He came through with a little broom and a short little dustpan and tried to clean up a little bit. But when you said, you talked about like the chasing and, a man should still try to find out who a woman is and all of that and get to know her. I agree with that. But we got to be very careful with the words we use to craft it and shape the minds of our men. Okay, because they will completely just take one thing and stretch it all the way out. They'll take it's just an anthill, and then there you go with a mountain. For me, I'm going to disagree with you about the chase. Okay, I think men need to actually chase the right woman. Okay, I don't think that a man should chase the hot girls that's down to the Instagram and they popping and all of this and then the other. They need to chase the woman that is smart, that is domestic, that is well educated, the woman who is unselfish, who is giving, who is loving and caring and considerate, the woman who will help build him. That's who they need to chase. I think they're getting played, those were your words, because they're chasing the wrong kind of woman.
Well, a couple things to consider. A good woman doesn't make her the right woman. Same way a good man doesn't make him the right man.
There has to be a level of chemistry there and connection.
And the problem is that a lot of men, I will say that a lot of men are not good at selecting wives because their understanding of connection and the deeper things that need to be in place have not been cultivated enough. So I do think that's a problem there. But I also think that when we consider the idea of men distorting this chasing thing, as you said, like they're going to take this message and then turn it into something else.
They will.
The men who will were never serious about you to begin with. So you don't need to worry about the ones who distort it. The one who is genuinely...
It's a high percentage.
Yes,
Let's
because if you meet 100 men tomorrow, 99 of them ain't for you. So
we're coming back.
We're coming back. We're going to continue this and add on to the conversation. We know you're enjoying this, and we know Miss Quad is. Well, he said, she said is coming up, and then we'll let Miss Quad finish up too. All right. Stay with us.
We're back with Stephan Speaks to talk a little about what we were talking about was the he said, she said, what Quad was talking about. We want to talk about celebrity relationships.
Yeah, but before we got some stuff to get to before that.
What we got a show.
Yes, it's a show lined up.
What is it that we got to get to?
We got to talk about, our husbands and stuff, and he going to tell us about
it. Oh, we got to talk to our husbands. I was just saying what the prompter said.
Right,
you didn't let me finish.
It's fine, but I got your back, as always.
Well, that's it. You're the wing girl.
I love my husband, Smitty.
Okay.
We've been married 17 years.
All right, now.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the keys to a successful relationship.
Okay. I would say key number one is connection. All right, this is no particular order, but having a connection and understanding how to maintain and nurture that connection. So that includes communication, that includes non-sexual intimacy, and that also includes sexual intimacy. I think that we have to cover all those bases in order to really make sure we're tapping into each other's needs and fulfilling each other in the ways that we need to strengthen that relationship, and more specifically, that marriage.
Yeah.
So that would be number one. Number two is accountability. And what I think more relationships should do is have like relationship checkups, where maybe every 3 months or every 6 months, even if every month, we sit down together and say, okay, what's working, what's not? What do we need to do? Now, when people know we got to come together and review things, they're gonna stay on their toes.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're at work and you know an evaluation is coming, you tighten up, all right? So it's the same thing in our relationships. When we know that we have to discuss these things, we're going to be more aware and accountable for our role in making sure the relationship is healthy and successful. And then the third thing, in my opinion, is gonna be God. And making sure God's at the foundation of that relationship, but even more specifically, not just us believing in God, us praying together, us going to church together. Because I don't like, if one is going to church and not the other, it's not that this is horrible thing, end all be all. Exactly. And we have to take those opportunities to bond even closer.
Or even a spiritual connection, even outside of church,
Exactly,
the
absolutely.
four walls of church.
Exactly, exactly. So I think praying, reading scripture together, anything that we can do together, and making sure this God is at the forefront of our relationship is going to strengthen that relationship. And it actually then pours into those other things. It starts to make us more accountable when we know that God is a part of this relationship, and it allows us to cultivate that connection when God's a part of it as well.
Let me ask you this, Stephan. Women who are, women and men who are, whose end goal is marriage, and they're in a relationship, how do they actively pursue the proper way to lead to marriage? Because a lot of times, we're in relationships, we jump the gun, and we don't get to know the person for the long haul. We're just excited about the small things that we're so excited about in the beginning. So how do we take our time and make sure that we're in the right positioning for marriage?
To be quite honest with you, I think the biggest thing that people need to do is talk to God before they get with somebody. When I sit down with divorced couples or divorcees and I ask them, did you ask God if you should marry this person? 90% say no. The other 10% say, I asked, God told me no, and I married them anyway. So there's a real reason why we're seeing such dysfunction and broken marriages and broken relationships, because we are not consulting God. We want God to bring us somebody, but we don't want to ask and make sure that this is the someone that He brings. And so we have to do that, and that would allow us to not rush into things and to make sure not only is this the person for us, but the timing of it, because it's all about timing with God. And sometimes you can meet that amazing person and there's this great connection, but it's not time yet, because there's some things you need to get in proper place and there's some things they need to get into proper place.
Well, let's talk about timing, like you said.
Okay.
We're going to get into the celebs just a little bit. Nicki Minaj, she's going to marry Kenneth Petty in about 80 days. And the internet had a lot to say. And my question is, she's defending him, and do you think it's smart to ignore the red flags?
It's not smart to ignore red flags. I do think that there's a lot of people giving their opinion who are not informed on the person or the situation. And she should definitely ignore uninformed opinions. However, you don't overlook red flags, but you should address them. It doesn't mean you run the minute you see a red flag, because that man may have changed. There may have been a transformation in his life. Again, not to get ultra spiritual, but even if you read the Bible, there's plenty of people who had horrible pasts who became unbelievable, amazing people of God. So I'm never going to discount someone's evolution in their life. However, you have to explore those things and have a discussion and make sure real change has occurred in that person's life, and not just them saying all the right things at the moment.
Wow, wow. Any parting words for our viewers, and to wrap things up with a beautiful bow from you?
My parting words would be heal. Focus on healing. Too many people are holding on to past hurts and disappointment, and that's not just romantic relationships. That's your father, your mother, family members, siblings, whatever, past relationships. You've got to heal, because when you don't heal, I believe you are 99% likely to end up with the wrong person. All right?
Wow.
Because you cannot see straight, you cannot emotionally handle what a real relationship requires, and you will not be willing to be vulnerable enough to be with the real love of your life. And so now you're going to settle and entertain the wrong people for the sake of what is comfortable and safer to you emotionally. So healing is the key to everything.
Wow, that is beautiful. Can we give it up for Stephan Speaks, who is now on tour? And if you'd like more information about the tour, it's called the You Deserve It Tour. Please make sure you go to his Instagram page, Stephan Speaks, right? That's the Instagram page,
Yes,
right? Yes.
exactly.
Awesome. You're amazing. We want to have you back so that you can just continue to, we want you for a whole show, okay? A block down
Choir is
here.
out on set.